Time do you wish you had her plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
It's been a week since OJ Simpson was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in Los Angeles. In that week, the drama, the unfolding story was broadcast and rebroadcast in nearly every format, from network news to the tabloids. Tonight we thought we'd offer not another analysis of the tragedy, but the words and reflections of OJ Simpson in a different time, up close. On 3 occasions in the last 8 years, OJ Simpson appeared on this program with me. First off, a segment that originally aired in 1989. I asked Simpson about his pleading no contest to a charge of an assault on his wife, Nicole.
The day after this was over, we looked at each other and said, hey, we had a fight. We were both guilty. No one was hurt. It was no big deal, and we got on with our life. As a matter of fact, after the Rose Bowl, we hosted a party for a great deal of amount of people, and mostly our friends. Took a trip with a couple of friends who never even knew. We had an argument that night, and then 30 days later, I'm reading in the paper, this major thing had happened, quoting things that people say to one another in the middle of an argument, right and wrong. I mean, it wasn't all right what you read in the paper, But it was embarrassing, but because our relationship was strong and all our friends knew it, and they knew what they were reading wasn't necessarily the truth, hey, we just tried to put it behind us and ignore it as much as we could. I mean, we could have easily gone to court and been on the stand, and I think even the city attorney's office realized that they couldn't have won it, but that wasn't the point of filing. The point was to bring attention to a new law that's on the book, and who better to do that than me? And I just said, why me? Why am I the guy that you choose to do this? I don't think I'm a good example, and I don't think this incident this night was a good example of what you guys are trying to, bring to light.
What kind of mail and what kind of public reaction did you get, and what kind of corporate reaction did you get, Juice?
Surprisingly, so supportive, it was unbelievable, so supportive, a little embarrassing because people are so concerned about Nicole and I. The people who know us are not that close to us, but know us from a distance, was concerned that the paper gave the impression that we were separated, that we were trying to reconcile our differences, which was not the case at all. I mean, as I said, the next day we looked at each other and say, well, you were wrong, no, you were wrong, okay, we were both wrong. Let's go on from here, and we're both guilty at the same time, But it wasn't that big of a deal. Certainly it didn't warrant the publicity we got. As far as the corporate is concerned, most of the people that I work with know us real well. As a matter of fact, we had spent time with a couple of people who I would say are my employers between New Year's and before this whole story came out. And so they can see firsthand that there was, that our relationship was as strong as, not only as it's ever been, but as strong as anybody's I know.
So when something like this happens, it takes a toll, it takes a bite out of it, but, you bounce back from something like this. What I want to ask you, though, Juice, is this. Do you really live your life, though, with the knowledge that every move I make, anything I do, it's OJ doing it? Do you have to step out of yourself sometimes in anything you do in life? Oh, this might be perceived a certain way.
Virtually never. I got a lifestyle that I enjoy, and I have people around me who are good people. I like to think. My family is healthy. I mean, like everyone, you have trouble with your kids, your teenage kids.
You got 2 little ones too.
2 little ones, yeah. And we're going to have a few more. But no, I've never wanted to be a victim of my celebrity. Saying that I can't do that because I'm OJ and the people don't expect it. What I do if it's morally acceptable to myself, if it's not offensive to the people around me, I do. And fortunately, I think I'm a normal guy, and I try to act normal. And people sometimes give you credit for being normal. You know what I mean? I said, I've always felt
decent,
that,
just decent.
Yeah, I have always felt that I read it once, and I agree with it, that I guess the purest form of conceit is the ability to be humble, and I think I'm a humble guy, so I am a little conceited, in the fact that, I think I'm a nice guy, and I think I'm a regular guy, and I try to do unto others, and as long as you do that, I think you're all right.
OJ Simpson in 1989. We'll come back in a moment, and in his own words, Simpson talks about his views of fame and his life's aspirations on this special edition of Up Close. Up Close. Continuing now with our OJ Simpson retrospective, we now turn to the year 1986. The conversation had to do with the early years. OJ Simpson grew up in a poor section of San Francisco. He was a popular, though somewhat distracted child. It took sports and the inspiration of a local hero named Willie Mays to get OJ Simpson focused into sports and away from the streets. Fame came easily for OJ, and he dealt with celebrity gracefully. Let's backtrack, give you a little bit of history. Galileo High School, San Francisco. He was the best hitter on the baseball team. He was the most outstanding track star. He could play a little football. In fact, until he went to Galileo High School, they hadn't won a game in something like 3 years. Then you came within a game of the city championship. You turned it around in a hurry at a young age.
Yeah, well, Galileo's an interesting school if you know San Francisco. It's located in the North Beach section of town, which is right next to Chinatown, and I guess we're about 80% Oriental in the school, so where Jason Sue, as tough as you can be, he was only 5'6", 140 pounds, and he was my strong side tackle. You know, so we didn't win that many games, but we had a couple of good players, Al Cowlings being one of them.
You later played with him in the Bills. Let's discuss the fact that you were all ready to go to the Army. You were all ready to be drafted, you were ready to go, and the last day of registration, somebody said, you couldn't cut it at San Francisco State JC. Forget it. You'll never be a good football player there. It fired you up. On the last day of registration, you signed up to go to junior.
That was part of it. The other part of it is when football season was over in the previous November, end of November, a few of my friends, including Al Cowlings, who ended up at USC and in Buffalo, quit school. But my mother wouldn't let me quit. I had to go until June. Ronnie Patterson, one of my buddies who quit, I went into the service and in, 8, 9 months went to training camp and was in Vietnam and was back home and he had lost a leg. Somehow the glamour of the service at that point, the realism set in that, hey, this is not it's not Audie Murphy. You know, we're not just going to go over there and be war heroes. And at the time, some people that I knew were in junior college and they were challenging me because they were the starting runners there. And all in all, I decided I better give junior college a shot.
At 10 yards, a crack, then we go to USC. Let's see, leading the league, leading the nation in rushing, then winning the Heisman Trophy. We take a look back at some of the glory years. There are so many great things that happen in professional football, but when people still think of the Juice, I think they really think of this image. It was the best of times for you, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, it was so new to me, you know, to be recognized, one, nationally by everyone. The feeling that I got when I came to Southern California that, hey, that everybody liked me and wanted to hear what I had to say. You know, I mean, it was so new to me.
Bob Hope had a great line. He said, OJ gets into the end zone more often than penicillin. Right? And there he is getting into the end zone right there. You always wanted to be somebody. That's what the point was. In fact, that was the motivator for you at a young age.
Yeah, when I was about 9, I guess, the Giants came from New York. And everybody was talking about Willie Mays. I mean, my teachers, the white teachers, the black teachers, you know, you didn't see too many blacks on TV unless it was some comedy. Talking about Willie Mays, and it made everybody happy. And I went and I saw him play, and I was happy watching the way he played. And I said, one day I'm going to be like that. People are going to know me, they're going to want my autograph, and when they see me and talk to me, they're going to feel happy.
What do you miss specifically about being on that football field and having that football in your hands?
I'd say there's a challenge there. You know, we all like to be challenged. It's the clarity of the challenge that, man, you work for something, and when the game's over, you can sit down, and it's so clear. Either you did or you didn't. You know, either you gave it your best or you didn't. Or you gave it your best and you failed. The clarity of understanding that, you know, most guys will have to wait, you know, they work 40 years to get a certain promotion to reach a station in life and say, I made it. Well, we get a chance to experience that on a weekly basis. And I miss that, you know.
Dickerson told me he missed the whoosh of the wind in his face. Can you get that specific?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, the ability to do that, I mean, if I ran from one of those lines to that other line, now I'd be puffing. You know, yeah, I miss that. I miss the feeling of walking out on the field and literally feeling that I was the best conditioned person there, and actually felt that I can whip any guy on this field. I had to fight any guy on this field to actually feel that and to know it and feel that they knew it. You know, even though they were 50 pounds heavier than I, yeah, to be that in tune with yourself, and to feel that and to know that, hey, people appreciated what you were doing.
There are some athletes, and Michael Jordan is one, who may enjoy their success, but don't seem to enjoy their fame. They're ill at ease about it. And in your heyday, it was as big for you as it was for Jordan, I think, or close to it. Why is it different for you, Juice, fame, and dealing with it?
Well, one, I think I had more time to prepare for it than Michael. I think when Michael, I remember that great shot he made. Was he a freshman or sophomore in the NCAA? But I, being in LA, I was exposed to it so much earlier. And even in San Francisco, in my world there, which was a very cosmopolitan city, you got accustomed to speaking to people from all walks of life, because it's a city. You meet people from different social backgrounds, racially, just different people. And so I always felt somewhat at ease. And I don't think any athlete has an obligation to do anything but perform well on the field. But when I was a kid, I prayed for fame. I wanted to be, people to come up to me like we chased Willie Mays around.
Yeah, you hung with Willie Mays. That's a true story. I mean, I don't say hung. You were there one day, but it was a great day for you.
For me. And so I feel I got it now. I prayed for it. God gave it to me.
In a moment, OJ Simpson looks at his career and his personal relationship with Jim Brown. We'll return with more of our special of OJ Simpson in his words when we come back. OJ Simpson and Jim Brown were often compared to one another, but the two couldn't have been more different as athletes and as men. In the segment that follows, OJ Simpson discusses breaking Jim Brown's single-season rushing record. I think everybody knows the year 1973 as the year O.J. Simpson broke Jim Brown's single-season rushing record, 2,003 yards. The year I want you to remember, though, is 1963, 10 years before, when you met up with Jim Brown and you said, "Mr. Brown," with one of those voices, "I'm going to break all your records." Is that true? That actually happened?
Yeah, it was after a 49er game, and I never missed a 49er game. And, of course, Jim Brown was everybody's hero in my neighborhood. He was the best. He was Jim. And we had gone and we had picked up cushions. You get a nickel a cushion. And it was real late. Most of the people were gone, and we had gone into an ice cream shop across the street from the stadium. And Jim walked in with a few guys, I think Eric Barnes and a few guys. And I was a leader of my guys. And when you see sort of a hero of yours there, you don't walk up and say, "Hey, I'm your favorite, fan," or anything. Right. Guys tend to get, macho. And I said, "Oh, you ain't so tough, man. I'm gonna break all your records one day," And he'd say, "Okay, little dude, we'll see," And,
well, you broke one big one for a while anyway. It stood as the greatest accomplishment, I think, for a rusher in one season, and before Eric Dickerson broke it. The Electric Company and those guys, Reggie McKenzie and DeLamelure. This is you at the very best. You said to Reggie one day, "Forget about 1,000 yards. Let's get $2 grand and set the world afire." That was it for you. You wanted the 2,000 yards.
Actually, it was like the year before I led the league in rushing, and I had finally felt that I had arrived in pro ball. I had done something. And we went into this year knowing we had a good football team. There's some young players, but they looked like good young players. We're the youngest team in football, and Reggie McKenzie was always sort of a cheerleader. And it was Reggie's dream more than mine, 2,000 yards. He is the guy that really said to me, "Let's get 2,000.
What would you do with the 16-game schedule, though, Juice?
At that time, you got to realize we were so hot at that time, and at the end of the year, we were really at the top of our game. I think the last few games, we rushed for over 200 yards a game, and if we had 2 more games to go at the latter part of the season, they'd still be chasing all the records.